Hi everyone, Scott and Amy
Hello.
from Sharky's Greenhouses up here in beautiful little Crivitz, Wisconsin, and today we're going to be talking about a dirty word. It's a word that many people hate and just despise, and it's deadheading. So
I thought you were going to say cleaning, but
cleaning.
It's kind of the same.
Yeah, it is cleaning. So
look at how big these baskets got already.
yeah, it's
if
very
you've been
early.
Following, it's been when we're doing the little tiny plugs of them.
Yeah, they were just little tiny babies, and now they're growing up.
They're bigger babies.
Oh, and here comes Zoe bumping our camera. Stop! Her tail keeps smacking our tripod. Say hi, Zoe. I know you want to be in. Everybody say hi to Zoe.
Hi, Zoe.
Okay, so talking about deadheading petunias, and we're gonna be specific here. So we're gonna be talking about the super petunias, the big vigorous petunias. We're not talking about bedding plant petunias. Okay, so we're gonna just stay topical on the big vigorous super petunias, wave petunias, the big cascading petunias. Do you need to deadhead them? I think you're gonna be surprised at our answer.
You're going to be relieved.
Some of you just absolutely get hives when you talk about deadheading, and you're like, "Oh, I got a deadhead. I can't handle it."
Or they feel overwhelmed, like I can't get a petunia because I don't have time to deadhead it.
Right. So don't worry, no fears. You know how much time we spend deadheading super petunias, and we have thousands in our yard. We spend zero time deadheading.
There'd be no way.
Yeah, absolutely none. Zero time. 0 minutes a week is what I spend on deadheading.
But we're selective on which type of petunias we put out in the yard.
Yeah, so we're using the proven winners, the super petunias. We're using the easy wave petunias, those bigger, aggressive petunias that are bred to flower. And what they've done with the breeding is they've taken these petunias, and this petunia's job is to produce flowers and not go to seed. So these are so young yet. There's not a lot of dead.
Oop, I found one.
Yeah.
Right there.
Okay. Of the spent blooms, and understand that the wind will take care of a lot of this, but generally speaking, you really don't have to go through it and deadhead. Now, some of you, like I said, get hives if you see a spent blossom on your petunia basket, and you cannot sit on your front porch and just enjoy it. You're like, I got a deadhead. You know what? If you absolutely can't sit still and you just have to deadhead, have at her.
We call it therapy.
Yeah, go for it. Do it.
For you.
If you can't sit still and just enjoy the basket, then here's the proper way that you're going to deadhead. You're not.
I'll hang on to it.
You're not going to just pull this bloom off, okay? Because that's not true deadheading.
That's therapy.
Yeah, that's therapy. But what you actually want to do is go behind and clip that whole thing off.
See if I can get closer.
Yeah, I'm just gonna nip it right off. So here we are. Let's say this one is spent and it's done. The proper way that we're going to deadhead, if you feel like you just absolutely have to deadhead, is go behind and nip it off. So that's true deadheading, because then this will produce another flower. So
well, it won't produce another flower. It'll start growing more leaves.
It'll grow a new one.
Yeah.
So what happens when on most of the petunias is this blossom will fall down, and then it will want to go to seed. And inside there, that is a seed pod. So it's trying to reproduce itself. So it'll look like a little bird's beak. It'll kind of get brown, and eventually it'll basically die off, and it opens up and it throws petunia seed. So we talked about this last week, is we start getting all these people saying, "Oh my goodness, my petunias are just full of little black bugs. It's just like everywhere on the leaves, and it has these little black bugs. What are these?" And it's not little black bugs. It's actually petunia seed, which is really fine. It's really, really small. So that's kind of their natural cycle. But with the super petunias, they've really been bred to just flower. and we produce and keep them flowering by fertilizing them. And we fertilize at least once a week with the Beat Your Neighbor fertilizer. So we're making sure that this plant is producing flowers, and we do that by feeding it nutrients so that it produces more blooms, and then this whole thing just becomes one giant plant full of blossoms. That's what we want. We want beautiful blooming petunias.
So for people who are from our area or who have been a tourist up here and have driven past us, you know, give us a, you know, me type of response, or say, you know, that you've been past our building. You can testify that we have massive blooms all year long.
Yep.
I mean, it's just, they're huge. They're like,
yeah,
I don't even know.
All through the growing season, our hanging baskets, we have the giant 14-inch hanging baskets, and they're about 5 or 6 feet in diameter, just massive. And they produce flowers
constantly. They're like, how do you deadhead all this? How do you get all the way up there and deadhead all of this? And our answer is,
we don't.
We don't.
Not at all.
But variety has a big...
Yes, yeah.
Has a big situation on that.
So what I'm not saying is you will never, ever, ever have to deadhead. You might have to deadhead a little bit. What we're saying is, how much time do we spend deadheading each week? Absolutely zero, none. Now, there are some colors that seem to be
a bigger bloom, and they cause a little bit more.
Yeah, and I picked the red here. Red does seem to be one of those colors that you might have to deadhead. And even this one, you can see a few on here that, and I don't know why. I'm not a scientist. I just grow stuff. But I don't know why red seems to be one that you
because it shows up more?
You might have to deadhead a little bit more. So again, if you have to deadhead, and you're not going to hurt anything by deadheading it. Just take that off like that.
So in contrast of, you know, last week we talked about deadheading and cleaning up geraniums. And if you haven't watched that, go back or go on our YouTube. We have lots of videos on care for geraniums. Yep. Those are ones you have to deadhead. Yep. And in those, we take it all the way down to the main stem. Do you need to do that with a petunia?
Nope. With the petunias, you're just taking it behind, and you know, here's another one that's done. And again, I'm just going to nip it off right behind. Here's the blossom.
Right behind the head. Yep,
right behind the head. And I just nipped it off right there. So that's how you deadhead petunias. Geraniums have to be deadheaded. If you're getting geraniums, you're committed. You're committed to deadheading those
at least once a week. And that's why it's so important to know your plants and to learn which ones need that extra care, which ones don't, you know, what's beneficial to take it all the way to the stem, which ones don't. Yeah. And really that's what we're trying to teach people is to take some of that stress out of gardening.
Yeah, and we sell mostly super petunias. So, you know, a lot of people walk in and they're like, no, I don't want to have to deadhead. Okay, grab a super petunia. You know, they're
and
just
make
like,
sure you fertilize.
I just can't, you know, like we'll post some beautiful picture of like our petunia tree. I mean, it's 7 feet of just solid color, and it's all done with Proven Winners, that Vista series. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And I'll post that on some of the different gardening sites, and it's funny to read the comments because, you know,
people think it's photoshopped.
Yeah. That's a real one. It's not a real tree. It's, you know, 16 pots of petunias, of super petunias, and it's just massive color. But, you know, you'll have 100 comments of, oh my goodness, that's beautiful. And then always there's a few Debbie Downers that are like, I wouldn't want that in my yard. That would be too much work. I would be deadheading day and night. Actually, Edna, there's no deadheading at all. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's a 7-foot tree of just solid, massive colors, and we don't deadhead at all. So, I mean, the irony is, it's no work. It's no work at all, but it's just gorgeous. So,
well, it's work of watering.
Yeah, there's a care and there's the watering, but that goes with everything. It doesn't matter if it's geraniums or lantana or impatiens. There's work, but the cleanup and the deadheading, the irony is, there's just very little deadheading that you have to do.
So the deadheading of petunias, especially the hybrid ones, is going to be snipping it off behind that head. So here's the flower, here's that base right behind there. And then from this stem that's still attached, more leaves will grow. Like, that's how it keeps spreading out further. So it's not like a geranium in the sense of the bloom comes up on a stalk and that whole stalk has to come off.
Right.
And bedding petunias are going to be different than the hybrid petunias.
Yep, that's going to be a different beast altogether. And I think in maybe a week or two, a lot of people ask us, what's the difference between petunias? And,
what's the difference between a wave petunia, which are fairly cheap, a bedding petunia, which are very inexpensive, and a super petunia, which are a little bit on the higher end of it.
Yeah, and so
there's a huge difference.
Yeah,
that's a great one for later this week.
Yep. We'll talk about that, and we'll kind of show the differences too. And there's a big difference. So a petunia is not a petunia, just like a dog is not a dog. You have St. Bernards and you have Chihuahuas. They're all dogs, but they're vastly different. And so are petunias. Petunias are vastly different, and it makes a difference on which ones you're buying and caring for. And they don't all just go in the same spot. It drives me crazy that people will come in, they're like, I want to make my own hanging basket. Okay, we can help you with that. But they want to do it as cheaply as possible, and they have like, a 12 or 14 inch hanging basket, and they'll go grab one pack of bedding plant petunias.
And they want it to look like our big
they think that their hanging basket's going to be this mess, and like, that, you're not doing it right. Well, I only want to spend $2. Okay, it's going to look like a $2 basket. It's just, or they'll buy one wave petunia. Yeah, that's just not going to fill out like you think it's going to. Or they'll have like, I have a whiskey barrel, and I want it to get really big, and they'll buy one wave petunia. Yeah, that's not going to do it. So there's some information, and we're gonna talk about petunias a lot because it's a lot of what we do. Yeah. So, what else?
Well,
super petunias. Don't worry about deadheading. It's a non-issue. Yeah, you do need to be feeding them. So they need the nutrients.
And they will get, when we have those great big baskets on our building, and they're massive. The back side of them are up against the building. They're not going to have flowers on them because it doesn't have the right sun. But the front is just loaded with it. Underneath, if you look up underneath it, like, you lift it up, and there's dead stuff all around the bottom. Can we trim that out? Sure, we can. Yeah. But we don't see it. We don't have, most people are not sitting underneath our baskets going, oh, that's really pretty. That's, they're normally standing from a little bit further back, or if you're looking at your house. And so we don't care so much about
no biggie.
The undergrowth, which gets, it does die off underneath because it doesn't have sun. It doesn't have, the care, the heat. So what we're looking at is the big picture of it. How does it look when you stand 2 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet, a mile down the road? Yeah,
and you on that dead foliage that's underneath, and it's there because it's just not getting sunlight, like Amy said, but don't just grab and rip it out. You're going to hurt the plant. You can cut it. That's fine if you go ahead and cut it.
Give me a second.
So you can go ahead and cut that out and trim it up. So that's our talk on petunias. We will be talking about this subject a lot more and going through and petunias it's a lot of what we do. So, and there's always those same questions that we get over and over again. So we'll be hitting that topic again. We've got a whole nother month, before we open up our greenhouse. So we'll be talking about petunias because we're going to be getting those questions a lot. So thanks for watching. Have a good day.